What does a producer do? Today's Tuesday tip tackles one of the most confusing and misunderstood roles in film and television, the producer. This is the job that almost always gets the same question. What does that person even do? Do they fund the project? Are they the boss? Do they tell the director what to do? And honestly, having worked steadily as a producer for years, I do understand the confusion. Because there are a lot of bad producers out there, like really bad. The worst producers are the ones who make a lot of money, but if you remove them from the crew entirely, nothing would change except their salary could be reallocated to departments that actually need it. That's not producing, that's just existing. Now, the best definition I've ever heard of a producer was years ago when I was watching the behind the scenes footage of one of the original Star Wars films, like, all of us cool people do. And there was an interview with Rick McCallum, who is George Lucas's longtime producer. I remember he was asked, "What is the job of the producer?" And his answer was something along the lines of this: "I learn what the director wants to achieve, and I work at making that come to fruition." That stuck with me. It was simple, but it was very accurate. What a good producer actually does is problem solve. They're resourceful. They get things done. They get them done quickly and they get it done cost effectively. They add production value to a project and not ego. Good producers understand every department and the facets that operate within them. They're not experts in everything, but they know enough about camera, lighting, sound, visual effects, post-production to make informed decisions. They understand workflow, and that matters. I'll give you a real-world example from when I was just starting out as a producer. Years ago, when I was producing films, color correction was something a lot of filmmakers were scared of and intimidated by. They really didn't understand what it was or how it worked, and they didn't know why it mattered. And believe it or not, it was often glossed over in film school. It was kind of the redheaded stepchild of the filmmaking process. Back then, colorists could charge almost anything for their service. $500, $5,000, more, less. Why? Because color was a mystery variable. It was the unknown. It's almost like bringing your car to a mechanic and having no fundamental understanding of what's under the hood. You could get taken for a ride, literally and figuratively, and taken advantage of because you don't know the value of labor and you don't know the value of parts of that industry. So back then, because color was kind of this mystery variable, you can't really negotiate what you don't understand. So as a producer, I had taken the time back then to really learn it. Not because I wanted to do color correction, but because I needed to understand the process to make sure I was paying fair market value for that service. Now, once I did, my color quotes from vendors dropped down, way down, because the mystery disappeared, and that's good producing. So why is it that so many people do not know what a producer does? Well, one answer is real simple. A lot of producers absolutely suck. And guess what? I've had the unfortunate pleasure of working with many of them. My favorite moment is when I'd be freelance on set and watching a producer do nothing all day. Then after they find out I own my own production company, they would come up to me and say, "Oh, hey, if you ever need a producer, give me a call." And I just remember thinking, you must be out of your goddamn mind. The other reason the producer's role gets confusing is because there are so many producer titles that vary. And they mean different things depending on whether you're working in film or television. So let's quickly break this down to kind of alleviate any confusion you might be having as a person just getting going in the film and TV world when it comes to producers and their titles and their role. We have first, the executive producer. This one probably causes the most confusion of them all, especially because it's based around money. An executive producer is responsible for the money, but that does not automatically mean it's their personal money coming from their personal piggy bank. There are a few common types of executive producers. Some personally invest their own money, especially in independent films. Some secure funding through studios, networks, grants, or investors without writing a check themselves. And some represent a studio or network overseeing budgets and protecting the company's interests and assets. Some are creative executive producers, where they are involved in the story and direction, but not the money at all. So Here's a clean rule of thumb. Executive producers often control the money. Producers spend the money. And if someone tells you they're an executive producer, the real question is, in what capacity? Let's keep going. We have next the producer. This is the engine, the machine. They run the project, manage budgets and schedules, coordinate departments, solve problems, support the director's vision. This is the person actually making the movie or show happen when it comes to the nuts and bolts. We have the line producer, which is the logistics expert. They handle budget creation, scheduling, crew coordination, day-to-day operations. If the line producer is bad, the production is going to fall apart. We have the associate producer. Now, this is one of my favorite because associate producers usually support the main producers and they help with coordination, communication, paperwork, deliverables, and logistics. And many of them grow into excellent producers over time. But there is one little asterisk we need to take when we are examining the role of the associate producer is that in film, especially in independent film, associate producer credits are sometimes handed out like candy. It is often a token title. You could lend an actor $1 to get something out of a vending machine, and suddenly you get an associate producer credit at the end of the film. Now, that doesn't mean that all associate producers aren't doing real work. Many absolutely are, but in film, that credit can sometimes be less of a job title and more of a thank you note. So context matters. Next, we have the supervising producer, mostly seen in television. They oversee other producers, maintain consistency across episodes, and act as a bridge between executive producers and the day-to-day team. I've worn that role myself, and I'll be honest, it was not fun, it was stressful, and a ton of work. Now, you also have a post producer. This is hugely important and often an overlooked role. Post producers manage everything after the shoot. So, editorial schedules, post budgets, editors, color, sound effects, VFX, deliverables, and network specs. If post runs smoothly, there's usually a strong post producer behind the operation. You have creative producers focused more on the story and logistics, also like a field producer. They can help guide development, tone and vision, shaping stories, and sometimes post-production led decisions come from these people in the field. They are common in documentaries, branded content, and scripted work. You also have unsung heroes of the development world and development producers. They work before anything is greenlit, and they are often involved in script development, pitch decks, budgets, and packaging, attaching talent or directors. Without developmental producers, most projects never get off the ground. So, the big distinction here, a film producer and television producer are not the same job. They do overlap in some capacities, but the responsibilities differ. That's where a lot of this confusion comes from. So, my final thought here is a good producer doesn't control creativity, they protect it. They remove obstacles, they translate vision into reality. And if you can remove a producer from a project and nothing changes, that title doesn't mean much to begin with. Producing is not about the credit, it's about the responsibility. And that is today's Tuesday Tip.